Welcome to Whaler Talk, hosted by the Hartford Whalers Booster Club. I'm Jerry Irwin with Peter Hindle from theexaminer.com and Sean Irwin from the Hartford Whalers Booster Club as well. Exciting news this week with the announcement of Global Comcast getting the lease at the XL Center and Rentschler Field for 7 years, I think it is.
Yeah,
we got 10 and 7.
Right.
The other thing that's very interesting about this whole thing is how on board Governor Malloy has all of a sudden jumped in and said there's two groups that want to potentially buy an NHL club. Yesterday on Face the State with Dennis House, by the way, today is the 12th of February, 2013. So if you're looking at this online, you'll know that yesterday, being Sunday, was Face the State with Dennis House, and he had the governor on talking about his budget plan, as well as all of a sudden his excitement to bring professional hockey, AHL, NHL, here in Hartford and keep it here. Yeah. What was your first thought when you saw the program?
Well, I think as Sean noticed, we said that the governor came out and said, don't get too excited. And he did say that they weren't very serious offers, but he also said some incredible things that were different than a year and a half ago when he was telling us that we should go to the Trinity Squash Dynasty and not worry about hockey. And I was like, who is this guy? But now I'm like, who is this guy? Because he says to us, he says the Whalers, if they return, would be a unifying force.
Yeah, which is
for the state.
Yeah. I think
for the whole, and it's a huge thing. You're bringing the major league market back in.
I think you're creating more of a Connecticut as a hockey state. You know, when you think of hockey, you think of Massachusetts, Maine, northern states. I think Connecticut, he wants to make it kind of, this is where you play hockey.
Right.
This is kind of
another
hockey territory.
It's another hub.
And he even mentioned about, very impressed, by the way, that he knew that you have to get the Rangers and the Bruins to both sign off.
And the Islanders, too.
And the Islanders.
How would he know that unless he's doing a little homework?
Right.
Exactly.
Even Dennis House said he did his homework.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You don't do your homework for something that's not serious, right?
And I think that's showing his commitment. Mm-hmm. Now, my only thing is I don't want him, saying all this stuff and then it falls through the cracks.
Right.
I'm very enthusiastic about what he's saying because it does sound very... It
Positive.
Sounds like he's committed, but I want to make sure that he's committed, and it's not that false. So let's hope it's not like the Patriots or something. Like that.
Like he says, unifying force. Mm-hmm. Then he says, if I was governor at the time the Whalers left, they wouldn't have left, which is a very bold thing to say because we know Karmanos was playing hardball, and that would meant like a new arena and things like that. So he's saying some stuff, putting stuff out there that what was the other thing he said? He talked about the territories, and he's done a lot of his homework, and he also said that. He believes it's possible, not incredibly likely right now, but it's likely. And the fact that the CRDA, which is the Capital Region Development Authority who made the decision on Global Spectrum, to make that decision and make hockey a forefront of that decision.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you brought it up when we talked at some other programs with AEG. They brought in some very high-profile concerts, family events, and this type of thing. And for the first bunch of years, with the Wolfpack, ran a good hockey market. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it trailed off, and you saw the decline over the years. But again, we talked about the fragmented fan base and so on. Now you have a group that's coming in, you have the Global Spectrum group, and if you look at what is required of them, there's a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money, a lot of commitment.
Right.
And their commitment to keep hockey here as the main tenant.
And I also think that Global, as a company, runs not only professional leagues, the Flyers, and other professional arenas. They run college arenas, too. So they'll know exactly how to run Rentschler and just how to run Hockey East when it's in the Civic Center. They know how to work with college kids. They know how to run college facilities. And they know how to run NHL-type facilities. Right. And I think that's why they got it, is because they're a great fit. AEG does high-level concerts and arenas and sports entertainment. They're not, at least in my mind.
Not in this area.
Yeah. And people don't come to Hartford, with huge concerts.
Right.
We have to play on what's good here, which is local hockey and hopefully an NHL team.
Right. And even the governor said, which was really interesting, was because Global said that they put money into the XL Center. I think they said they put $20 million overall into the XL. Yeah. And it said media. I think it was media and visual things within the
video
arena.
capacity.
And what do they own? They own 80% of the TV market.
Right,
So will we see the AHL on TV? Will the Connecticut Whale finally legitimately be on TV where people can watch? I mean, that's how you outreach.
That's a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
And to
again,
put that
you're
for-
marketing your team to bring people in.
Right.
I mean, to put that in for nothing, I think that kind of leads to something. And when me and Peter were talking before, Global put in $20 million into the rink versus AEG only put $9 million into the rink.
Right, in the offer, yeah.
In the offer, they said we were fully committed to, basically kind of implying they're fully committed to hockey, as AEG wasn't.
And the governor even backed it up on Face the State when he said to Dennis, you know, if we have to make the XL NHL ready, or he didn't use those words, but he said, you know, the adaptations or however you would make that, bring the arena up to current standards for the NHL, he could do that. And that makes you think, well, maybe they want to stick a team in the XL Center for a couple of years when a new arena is built. I know this is still kind of all pipe dream stuff,
Well,
but
and
the
a lot
point
of
is
it's brand
it's
new, though.
opening up
Yes,
a little bit more. The bottleneck is not
I
as
think
tight.
once
Right.
Global takes over, we're going to see a lot of changes fast. Because right now they're kind of everyone's kind
It's
of
in limbo.
Well, no one can. Everyone has their hands tied because they can't do things when you know, in case something fails or you know something doesn't go through. You know, there's a lot of changes that could happen,
Right.
and so we're all just kind of wishing. So
Right.
Well, a
for
lot
this
of it
kind
has
stuff.
to do with wishing. I mean, we've done it for years.
Yeah.
You know,
Welcome to Live
how
from
many
Los
times
Angeles.
have we sat here with certain guests on our show?
Right.
That and again, you know, we had Howard Sr. and Howard Jr. on here. They were great guests to have on here. They were really enthusiastic, and unfortunately, they were. As we know, they were kind of swept aside,
Right,
and
right.
you know, until they really didn't finish what they started, and that's, you know, it's a shame. I think yes, we understand the politics involved,
lot
but
of
you know what,
business.
you know, hopefully the Baldwins will be around as either consultants or in this game with the hockey market.
That would be interesting because they of course know the market. You know that there's a connection between Howard and the Flyers owner Ed Snyder. That's Howard got his first job with the Flyers, so there's probably a connection there. They might be talking just in terms of how this market is and what it's like right now.
And
so
what did they learn from it? Yeah,
right. And
yeah.
Global's, exactly, because they were just
governor
managing the
mentioned
team.
Yeah, even governor mentioned about the area as the 30 largest TV market, and that you know, talking about Hartford itself, it's the biggest market without really anything.
Right.
It doesn't have, you know, a huge draw for consumer spending, as it's number one in consumer ratings or something like that, extra spending or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's no team, which is the 30th largest in the country,
Yep.
and with no team.
Yeah.
So there's all this to grab. I don't see why a team wouldn't want to come here. When this is all in front of you, it's basically on the silver platter.
Well, you know,
we're just waiting.
we've spoken at length with people who have told us that Gary Bettman has talked about Hartford.
Right.
You know, he's talked about it, but he's also talked in the past, as we've talked on our show, that need a new arena or an upgrade at least.
And he can't say that even that much because he's again tied.
And
his
he's
hands are
holding.
tied.
Well,
'cause
he's also
governor.
taking care of, you know, his 30 teams right now.
Well, yeah, and the leagues would have to. All the other teams would have to agree to this, and
That's where Malloy mentioned on Face the State that and Jeremy Jacobs, who owns the Bruins, has said travel's expensive. You know, if we can come to Hartford, you know, 4 to 6 times a year, or the Rangers, the Islanders, Buffalo's, you know, 8 hours, and Montreal's 5 hours. I mean, all these teams now, instead of going to
even New Jersey,
Florida, or Phoenix, they can come to Hartford.
You know, it's one of those things. You know, you look at who's out there, who possibly would be on who would want to move right now.
Yeah.
Is there a team that is financially strapped right now? We don't know. You know.
well, there was rumors about Phoenix. That's always been in the news that they would be.
Well, that sale fell through the cracks.
Well, yeah, they another team though. Supposedly, there's rumors going around that someone else is going to come buy the team again. Another investor. So that's even. There's a lot of movement going on.
They're really trying to make it work down there. Yeah, they've gone through.
I don't know why.
The old Sun Belt.
Sun Belt doesn't
Basketball
work with ice.
Yeah, it's definitely the franchise that's teetering the most.
Yeah.
Phoenix, but you never know. They could end up there with another deal for a couple more years. You don't. There's talk that maybe the NHL would look into expansion. Maybe there's a clause in this new agreement with the players that they would create more jobs. I don't know.
Well, when we actually when I was doing some of my research, there is a clause, I believe, in NBC's contract that says they will not allow any more teams into Canada. under their contract. 25%
And
can only be
NBC?
NBC because they control.
That's 7 teams.
Yeah, there you go.
So no Quebec.
Exactly. So
No Quebec unless you put a team in Hartford first.
yeah,
Well, not really, but you know what I'm saying.
but because of that, so they don't because they own the television rights for
Right,
airing it, so
right.
they won't air it if
And they
another
wouldn't get
Canadian team-
they wouldn't get any Canadian television. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's also a
Now,
thing
is
they
that
have to look
also
at too.
because TSN and the Canadian network?
I would think so.
It's a battle between the two TV.
Yeah,
or
they
the
would-
three.
Right. I mean, because they have the 7 Canadian markets.
Right.
They do better ratings than in the
Well,
U.S.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
in
yeah.
some markets.
Yeah, in some markets,
But
right.
you know that tells you right there. So you put teams in Canada, that takes money out of NBC's pocket.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
where are they located right now?
Right.
The NHL office for NBC.
In Connecticut.
They're in Connecticut. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
so I also think what you were mentioning about Florida and that kind of stuff, with proximity to other teams, Florida's isolated. There are no teams remotely.
Closest is what, North Carolina?
I think it would
Yeah.
be Nashville, maybe.
Oh,
Nashville, North
Maybe?
Carolina.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, around there. Either
Yeah.
way, you're
Yeah.
And then
You're
Texas.
talking
far away.
3 or 4
Yeah,
states.
Dallas.
Yeah, and Dallas,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing around them.
No.
Moving it to Hartford would make sense because
Yeah.
then you have this corridor of hockey.
Yeah.
You have the
Bring back a
Bruins.
little
then
bus
you-
hockey. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
You
exactly.
Could, you could have.
We could take our bus.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
We get Bruins.
No, we
Hartford.
don't have our own bus.
No, we have Bruins, Hartford, Rangers,
Islanders.
Jersey, Islanders, Philadelphia, Montreal. It's all right there.
Right,
And
right.
so, and you could even go down to DC if you wanted to.
Right,
You know,
right.
so it's all right there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big push that people.
And the
have
other
to
thing
look
you have
at.
to look at is Comcast owns NBC.
They do own NBC. They own
And so
majority.
you have this whole
Yeah.
right here in Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, it's-
and
it's
did the
interesting.
NHL bring market offices into Connecticut as well?
Yes, they did. Yes, they
so-
did. They were one of. I don't know if they were part of.
They didn't bring
Malloy's
everything in.
Yeah,
I think it was
But
the first 5 that he brought in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been. Yeah, it was.
Or the first 15, whatever.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
said.
It's something along the jobs. If you get 200 jobs or 200
then you had
jobs
the-
in investing money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to
Along
bump
those
it up
lines.
to 300
But
after
yeah,
X amount of time.
ESPN took advantage of that.
Yeah, sure.
You know, the NBC offices for the NHL did. So you know, that's the governor is definitely, and I think also if you look at it, he has this busway coming in. Busway to what? I mean,
Yeah.
you need
Yeah, right, exactly.
41 nights. You know, you could have an NHL team. You can have the AHL team for 38.
Sure.
You know, but the NHL is a bigger draw.
Sure.
There's no question.
And the other
about
thing is, Sean and I were talking about this on our way here, is also what's the city doing around the XL Center?
Yeah.
And the CRDA talked about it at the breakfast, the mayor's breakfast.
Governor. Yeah.
No, the one.
Mayor.
that Sean and I
Oh,
went
okay,
to,
okay.
The first
I
one
got
we
you.
went to
Yeah.
Rising
in January.
Breakfast, yeah.
Oh, all right.
And that was great to
But
hear.
they didn't.
But they didn't.
They're
say-
putting in residential. There's
It's
no
all residential. There's nothing around the XL Center.
And that's what kind of I'm not bashing anybody. Trust me. All I'm saying is I don't want to say that we should be doing it now because it may be too early. But there's no plans around the XL Center whatsoever
That we know of.
that are known to the public that are redoing around the XL Center, bringing in restaurants, bringing in new bars or stuff like that, because that's what's going to stay. I'm not going to move to Hartford just to go to hockey games.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to have
an experience.
Exactly.
Right.
And if you don't have that built around the XL Center,
Right.
then it's kind of an isolated island on its own. And there's a few restaurants that you could go to, but if I want to be right downtown and with the busway, it can
Yeah.
bring me there. But like you said, to what? What am
Yeah.
I going there
Right.
for? They have to kind of create an atmosphere around the XL Center as well as the XL Center, which in the lease, they have to redo it themselves, whoever owns it. So Global will have to redo the XL itself. But
But
I
they
think
also
around
talked
it.
about the neighborhood or that,
Yeah.
that adjacent area to the XL Center
Yeah.
as and I think they talked about it the other day with I guess Global has something down at Philly. It's called Xfinity Live, and it's that whole walking plaza out in front
Right.
of the Wells Fargo Center.
Well, we saw
Talking
that.
about Hartford Live. Do you remember that?
That's
Yeah.
what they're talking about.
Well,
I
that
think didn't Howard Baldwin bring that up?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, he did.
the
It was a
first.
very
That was the
similar-
$105 million
That was
project.
that fell on deaf ears that now are listening.
But
so.
now, funny, CERTA comes out and says that you need around the renovation costs for the XL Center should be around $100 million. That you should be investing into it. We have plans that have been presented to Hartford that are around $100 million and have gone, as you said, fall on deaf ears. So I don't know all of a sudden why people are jumping on. I mean, it's great. Don't get me
Absolutely.
wrong.
This has been very.
Yeah,
the whole conversation has been enthusiastic.
And it's very
all the way
interesting to
around.
see how this is all happening. And biggest news, too, is that Frank Russo, who is in charge of the development for new clients and contracts for arenas, just got the lease with Global Spectrum for the XL Center. And he was...
What's his title? Vice President?
Senior Vice President of Global Spectrum. But he focuses on client retention, ongoing client relationships, and also for contracts for new arenas. And he ran the XL Center. He was the executive director of the Civic Center in 74 to 86, 83. Yeah. So he has experience here. He has, and so this is his domain. Right. He knows he was run Hartford.
He knew it was hot back then.
Yeah, right. He was in the 80s where it was hot.
Right,
Hartford was hot. Hartford was jumping. It was the city. So I think he's one of the best fits to come back because he knows what works and what doesn't in Hartford. He even was assistant to the city manager, and he ran some of the things in Hartford
was he in
municipalities.
the Chamber of Commerce, or what was he in? He was in something in his bio. It's an extensive bio. The other thing that was interesting today was when I spoke to Global Spectrum to see if we could get Frank on a show. They were very excited. They were very excited that Frank was going to be coming back.
They knew Whaler Talk.
A new Whaler Talk. That's right. And you know, it's great because they've heard of Whaler Talk. So apparently more than a few people watch us, and we're very flattered by that. The other thing is I reached out to WFSB today to try to get some hockey footage like we saw on Face the State yesterday. And the person I spoke to at the news desk, I introduced myself from the Booster Club, and he was all excited about the Whalers. And I said, you guys did a great job on Face the State yesterday with Dennis House. And he goes, yeah, it really came out good. And this is a younger person who we sat here, and he was really excited about the Whalers. So it really neat to...
The fan base is out there. I think...
they're in hiding.
Yeah, you have to just reignite
an underground
them. You have to
movement.
reignite them. You have to...
rekindle it.
Yeah, put a flame under their butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically what's going on.
Which will be interesting because, you know, we heard a few weeks ago that Global was going to have an AHL team, but there was talk of a couple other teams. It was, you know, maybe 2 or 3 teams. But now, you know, Paul Doyle's been writing in the Current that it looks like the Global's pursuing the Rangers, and it sounds like the Rangers will be the team that Global's going to work with going forward. Okay. Now, we're going to run into some branding questions. Eventually, are they going Wolfpack? Are they going Whale? Are they coming up with something new?
Yeah, because when you look at it, I think when Howard Sr. was here, he owns that Connecticut logo.
Correct.
And so,
But I think best for Hartford, because there's very much changing in Hartford, I think as a city and a state, it would be best for us to stay with what we have. Some stability in all of this changing atmosphere.
We have to have the consistency.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I don't want to keep going back and forth between Connecticut Whale, Wolfpack, or if they even rename them again. Yeah. You know, if they change it to the Hartford Whalers or whatever. I think that it's best for Hartford to keep some consistency. We have a lot of things coming through the pipeline that will be changing rapidly. We will be having... We'll be having iQuote, who's making huge changes.
That's right.
The mayor is doing huge revitalization plans throughout the city. And then we have the Rangers and the new lease also, and all this uncertainty.
That new lease is just amazing because you're getting into 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this is huge. I think this is the longest contract over the past couple because I think there are 5-year bids.
Yeah, they were like 3 years with a 3-year option, so they'd be like 3 to 6.
Right.
You know?
So when you get into now, you have a 10-year commitment.
Right.
With a very powerful company.
Right.
That, I mean, powerful meaning of what they oversee
huge.
is quite impressive.
Yes.
And a link with Frank Russo, who knows how business has to be done in Hartford.
Right.
And hopefully we can see where this goes. But now getting into the next, did you have anything else on Frank?
I think mainly one thing I did want to add is that around when you're talking about around Hartford and revitalization around the XL Center, it's been said they do best on hockey nights. You know, all the restaurants, all the bars, they do best on hockey nights. So we have to make sure that, one, that there's going to be hockey, and two, that
Fill the building.
16,500 seats, not that many, but, you know, fill the building and keep that consistency. Because once you have that, you can grow your base faster.
And the people and the restaurants and the bars felt the impact this year.
Oh, yeah.
They knew the decrease from last year and the year before.
Right.
That there was, and when we looked at the numbers, there was a 28 to 30% decrease in attendance to the hockey games.
They had actually hit dead last in attendance this year. But they bounced back because they had the big 13,000 game, which helped them up. But they're still only like 25th or 24th.
But the other thing is, and you saw it both with when Whaler Sports and Entertainment had it, and now with AEG, specifically in the first half of their year, a very lackluster performance in marketing and advertising.
Right.
There wasn't a lot on the radio. Every once in a while you'd hear an ad on the radio or on the TV, but they didn't spend a lot of money.
No. I think...
And again, the economy is what it is.
Sure. I don't know this for sure, but I had thought that maybe they were interested in going with UConn. They thought maybe they could build that hockey base with just UConn. Maybe they thought the Hockey East was their bread and butter. But as you saw, the state... the governor of the CRDA, they had different ideas because they did not want to lose the AHL. They did not want to lose those 38 nights. And I bet you those restaurant owners went forward and said,
well, we had conversations.
Don't let the AHL out of here.
We've talked, and again, we've talked to Oz Grable with the Metro Hartford Alliance.
That's right.
Sean, myself, and you went to the most current breakfast, and where the governor spoke.
Right.
And again, every time we show up, we wear our Whalers pin on our lapels, and it's great when people shake your hand and they say Whalers. You know, they see that logo, and they want to talk to you.
Right.
Oz Grable came out in the paper, and he was very vocal about losing the suburban people coming in for the hockey.
Right.
You know, bringing all those people in for game nights, 41 games a year or 38 games
playoffs,
a year, depending
40,
what you have. He was very concerned about that, and I think it's a very vital. And we had the conversation as well with him on the night we met in their offices about, you know, what if we don't have hockey? This is the first time in 38 years Hartford would not have hockey, whether it's AHL or AHL.
Well, when the Whalers left, they had a $700 million decrease in the amount of money going into Hartford.
Yeah.
And then every year since, it's been that amount, and it's just going down the toilet, basically.
Right.
You have to stop and save it at some point. You can't let this cycle keep happening.
No.
You
And
have
the other
to break
thing is,
the cycle.
you know, again, and you said it best when we hopefully we stick with the consistency.
Yeah, I think
the
that's the most
consistency,
important.
whether it's the Whalers, whether it's the green.
Yeah.
I saw a post on Facebook the other day with the team there in their green jerseys. Well, you know what happened after Whaler Sports and Entertainment left? You saw those maybe 2 or 3 times. That was it.
Right.
Because that's a non-Ranger color.
Right.
Hopefully, the Rangers, Global, will come to an agreement that the green means everything.
Right.
You know, the green is the market.
Right.
The night they rebranded and brought everyone in, you saw green there all through the 13,000 that showed up.
And I think it's the Rangers have to realize we as Hartford have our own identity, and keeping us branded to this Rangers type idea is not going to work for much longer. We have always had we always have we have Whaler fever. It never goes away. It's a disease.
Well, I think you're right, because I think, well, in terms of, you know, when the team first started, they did very well, but after the Whaler fans left, the Rangers declined over 9 years, and they got to its lowest point in 2009-10. Now it's increased. And it increased a lot when Howard Baldwin was here, and you know, there's a lot of talk about comp tickets and whatnot. But the point is that you could tell in the building. Last 3 years I've been to just about every game. That first year and second year is different than this year. It feels different. The atmosphere is different. There's less people. I know there's less people because I talk to them. They're not coming. They go to Worcester now. They go to Springfield. They go to Bridgeport.
And you know,
and it just shows how committed those fans are. They will go anywhere for good hockey and a good time.
If
and a
they
good
feel like
atmosphere.
they're being sought after.
And I think that's what they need. You can't brand these people to a team that they don't want and that they may not like, even if they do like Rangers.
Well,
and I'm not saying
the
I
same
hate
thing can
Rangers.
say if we brought a Bruins farm club in here.
Oh yeah,
it's a battle. Whether it's the Bruins, whether it's the Rangers, we have established a hockey market here in Hartford, and what has happened is we're sold. With all due respect, we're sold out to other teams. We have our identity. We have, whether it's the Green, the Whalers, the Howes, the Francises. We have our own hockey tradition. If it was only a few years, then yes, we maybe be able to blend in with a Ranger organization or a Bruin organization. We have 35 years plus of Whaler hockey. And you know, that's what I try to talk to younger people who don't know what it's like. Sean saw the Civic Center on Dennis House yesterday when all these rabid fans during the 86-87 Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
It was
with
amazing.
The parade and all that stuff. The enthusiasm in Hartford, which probably hasn't been seen in a long time.
That was a while. But I tell you, that was real. That was real.
So when we look at what has to be done, I think the commitment obviously is there by the state. Mm-hmm. They went outside the box. Right. They could have renewed AEG's lease or extended it for a little longer, but they did not.
No.
They either saw some writing on the wall that made them nervous, whether it was the sale, whether it was what was going on in town, I don't know. And now you have a huge company that owns the Flyers, the Philadelphia Phantoms, a real hockey background, as well as Frank Russo, who ran the Civic Center.
Right.
Well, are the Whale right now? They're looking pretty good.
It's kind of funny. As soon as this lease turned around, and now that they're talking about keeping the Rangers, all of a sudden the team they made a couple of trades. They traded Chad Kolarek, which was their only All-Star, and at the time it felt like
he go to Penguins, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to the Penguins, but I guess the rumor was that he had family there. Yeah, he had family there, or he didn't want to be on the Rangers. I think that's what attributed that. But they got a good player, Ben Fierro, who the Rangers call up a lot to fill in spots, but he's a playmaker. They also acquired Brad Mashinter, who is a tough guy who throws around a couple of elbows. Got rid of Tommy Grant. And the other thing that's interesting is they got the rookie Dylan McElrath.
Yep.
Who is
he's a great defenseman.
He's like Torrey Robertson's kid. And he gets into fights, and he's got 18 games. He's got 60 penalty minutes, and I think a lot of those are 5. So So he's been mixing it up.
They're going to make the playoffs?
You know what? Right now they're ninth in the conference. They're tied for 8th spot with Worcester, and between 5 and 13, it's 10 points.
Amazing.
So
it's going to be a very exciting
playoffs. But they're 7-3-1-1 in their last 11 games. They're 5-1-1-1 in their last 8 home games. They're 4-2 on the road. I mean, all of a sudden the team is kind of turned around. It's all about that goaltending.
And maybe it's because of what's going on, like you said. But
we're
going to have to see.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see you guys next time on Whaler Talk, and we'll check you next time. Thank you for joining us.